YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. I love the M4 Max, it's amazing. We got one flight already under our belt on a 2000 6S. This is gonna be a 2600 6S. This is Jen's Ace 40C, that was a 70C. You guys can stay tuned for that. But just to let you know, we had to reduce our gains a little bit on the gyro so that we can try to stop a little bit of tail waggle, but in normal mode, here we go. Taking off again for yours truly. And the audience, of course. Wind is calming down finally. Oh guys, this is gonna be so fun. Okay, here we go. We have already test flown this. Looks like the gyro gains have helped a little bit, but we still have a little bit of waggle. And so as you can see, we're probably gonna have to turn down our gains just a little bit. But guys, look at that beautiful thing. It is so gorgeous here in the very early spring of 2024. M4 Max, Brian Phillips, one of the worst helis on YouTube, one of the worst heli pilots on YouTube, filming one of the best helis that's available right now in retail options. And I gotta say, what a sweet looking helicopter. You do not need to be an expert to fly this thing, but you can be an expert. And if you are, it's gonna be all the better. I'm gonna go into Stunt 1 now and just get a little bit of altitude and just do the first trick of the day. I'm gonna arrest my motion and just bring that thing right there. I'm still in Stunt 1. I feel so proud of myself. Of course, I'm gonna go back to normal because I am a chicken, and a chicken is gonna put it back in normal. But as you can see, this thing is tuned to be a beginner safe option, but you're probably not gonna fly it that way, and I fully understand that that's true. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to get that tail waggle shut down, and it's gonna be very easy. I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it right now. Here we go. If you guys have already followed along in the Unbox Build radio setup, just remember, we're gonna show you as much as we can, but Clay with Buddy RC, special thanks to you for getting this thing set up for me. You actually built the thing for me, which is awesome, and then we came in and did the radio setup. Okay, so here it is, gyro. I have it set to 32, that's a little bit too much. I'm gonna cut it down. I'm gonna go to like 25, and I'm gonna actually reduce this down. Well, I don't see tail waggle in the other settings, but I'm gonna just set it to 25 and 25, okay? I could just leave it on 25 all the time, but what that's gonna do is it's going to make the tail a little bit less hyperactive, and I had it set to my F mode, which is also going to switch all of the other things. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. Throttle cuts off, normal mode. Let's see if it starts wiggling. Looks like we might still have just a little bit of wiggle. It's gonna be a lot more relaxed on the tail, which might, yeah, see, we're still seeing a little bit of wiggle. So I'm not sure if that's gonna do it, but I gotta say this, when I'm giving input, the thing feels absolutely rock solid, and I hope it shows that good on camera. I'm gonna go slightly overhead here, camera crew. I know I don't wanna scare you, but you see when I give it input, it is just right there where I want it. It's just that it's really fighting hard to find that home position, and it's just overdoing it. But I gotta say, this thing has tons of power. It's gonna do exactly what you want when you want. But remember, this is a helicopter. You can tune it to be as aggressive or tame as you want. In my case, tame is the name of the game. Yes, that's a dad pun rhyme joke for you. All in one, and we have a cat behind me. What the heck are you doing, cat? Why do you always have to come out here when we're flying dangerous things? Oh, it's so gorgeous. And by the way, I gotta say, I like the livery a lot. Sorry, we're gonna get silhouetting up there. Love that noise. The head speed can be a lot lower on this heli and accomplish what you couldn't have accomplished at the same head speed on the M4. The M4 Max is just a little bit bigger, and what that does for you is it gets you more performance from the same size heli because it's got bigger blades. And yes, I know I just said the same size, and what I'm getting at is that the blades are bigger, but the helicopter itself is the same size. These are interchangeable with your M4 if you've already got an M4. So if you like the look of this particular M4 Max, you can buy the components. I believe are mostly interchangeable, except for probably the tail boom, which is quite a lot bigger. And when it comes to the tail boom, it's probably 3 times as big. So what I gotta do is I gotta basically work this system and figure out where I'm getting my waggle from. But I gotta tell you, the thing feels rock solid. Don't let that waggle confuse you, because I'm gonna tell you this, it feels solid. And that's not something that we can't play with to figure out. All right, I'm gonna go back up here. We'll go over to the bowl here real quick. Camera crew, you wanna walk over by the edge, please? Now, I do have, that's good. I do have enough skill to fly these things around in a scale like general aviation style with mild aerobatics, but what I don't have is skills to do tons of 3D. So that's our 5-minute timer that just went off. I'm gonna respect it. I'm gonna go to idle up, or not idle up so much as stunt 1. I'm gonna go to stunt 2 the first time I've done that. Holy crap, okay? And so that 45C pack got a little excited when I went to the 85% throttle position. And so you're gonna hear me slow it way down to let that battery relax for just a second in normal mode. And then I might even go back to stunt 1. You know what'd be really nice is if I could have some sort of a limited auto leveling, because I just want to be able to get back to auto leveling right as soon as I get out of these tricks to help it cost less to learn to fly a helicopter. Now, if you guys are brand new to the hobby and you want to learn how to fly a helicopter, here's my recommendation. Get something that's easy. There goes, hold on, let's see if the cat, you see the cat just ran down the hill? What the heck is she doing?
She's trying to get away from the helicopter.
That's good. Finally, she realized there was a helicopter over there. But what I would recommend you do is just get something that's like heli drone style, fun, that you can get for 20 bucks or less, and just fly that thing around the house religiously. The stick positions are gonna be just the same as what you'll have on a big heli like this. But the difference is you're gonna have almost no consequence. And then what you can do is just slowly work your way through the ranks of different helicopters. And the real heli guys are gonna tell you, get out of safe as quick as possible. I'm gonna tell you, they've forgotten how hard it is to fly these things. And I'm gonna tell you, notwithstanding that wiggle, I love the way this thing feels. It looks good, it looks the part. I'm having no problems keeping it away from the ground, which is one of the biggest problems I have with helis, is I run into the ground and stuff. That's just a hilarious joke, guys. I actually don't run into the ground that often, just when I crash. So that being said, going overhead this time. These things just move a ton of air, and with auto leveling and stability from Spectrum, the thing feels locked in. Now I gotta say, the only thing that's bugging me is that stupid wiggle. And once we get that wiggle figured out, this thing is gonna be golden. I just did a little mowing of the grass. That was accidental, because here on Brian Phillips RC, we admit to when we make mistakes. We don't blame the manufacturers for everything, just the stuff they screwed up. Okay, now I'm just gonna show you how easy this thing is to land, okay? So I'm not like an expert pilot, but I just want you guys to be able to see both at the same time. So I'll try to kind of hold my sticks here so you can see. This is not a hard thing to do. Now that was a terrible landing. I kind of plopped it on the ground. I'm gonna get it back up to speed here. And I gotta say, very forgiving landing gear. That's the takeoff sequence, very easy. I probably should have left it on the ground for a second so it could spool up a little better. And we're gonna do a better landing this time. Camera crew is she's gonna help film it as soon as she can get both in frame. So I'll bring it over here, tail boom toward us. If you're learning to fly, keep that tail boom towards you and you're gonna have the best possible time. And you can see just small movements, very easy. Get it down to the ground, reduce your throttle, back it off, throw your throttle hold on first, test it, make sure everything's working, and then you're good to go. This is an amazing product, guys. The M4 Max is second to none. All I'm gonna say is if you want the aggressive, insane capabilities of a 6S helicopter, but you want something you can also tool around with, just like I did there, the M4 Max is gonna do it, and it's gonna look amazing. And then when you go to the flight field and you got that one buddy that's just has insane skills, he can come take this brightly colored, beautiful, easy to see heli that's big enough for all the eyes to see, and he can do insane loops and maneuvers and TikToks and all the crazy stuff that you see in the shows. But I'm gonna tell you something, guys, you don't have to be into 3D to love and appreciate a heli like this. And I'm gonna tell you something, while I do appreciate the skill and the aptitude that's required, because I have an appreciation by not being able to do it, to do 3D, you don't have to love it to appreciate another type of aircraft like this. And I'm just gonna tell you this, the M4 Max, it just ticks all the boxes I've got, with the exception of, I don't know what the heck I did wrong to cause that thing to wiggle. So I'm gonna look into it, I'm gonna find a solution, and hopefully we're either gonna put it in the comments below or we're gonna have another clip that we can add at the end of this flight. But guys, if you wanna help support Brian Phillips RC, and Buddy RC has been great, both Dan and Clay have worked with us and helped us out a lot to try to bring some of this amazing content. And even when I fly into snow berms and rip landing gear off and embarrass myself, they've been right there by his side. And so we really appreciate you guys at Buddy RC. And yes, we do love Spectrum stuff too. I am a Spectrum guy. I know some of you Heli guys think there's better options out there. There are admittedly, but they're quite a bit more expensive. And so I'm just a realist here. If you're on a budget and you're trying to get this done, you'll be able to get it done with Spectrum. We'll show you how to do it in this video. Remember, a lot of this stuff is subjective when it comes to setting up helis, but some of it is not subjective. Some of it needs to be set, and I'm sure I'm missing a few details. So if you see what I'm missing, please help me out. I love learning about aviation. I love learning about RC aviation, I should say, and full-scale aviation. And it's no exception, that being helicopters, okay? I love this stuff. I wanna get better. I wanna watch you guys get better. I wanna get better together as we both together investigate all these new options. And if you guys are watching this and you're thinking, man, you suck as a pilot, you know what? You're right, I do. As a heli pilot, I'm terrible. But the thing is, you gotta start somewhere. You gotta start somewhere. You gotta start somewhere. If you don't start somewhere, guess what? You've already failed. You don't even need to crash to fail if you don't ever give it a shot, okay? If you don't have the money to fly these things, start with simulators. It's gonna help get the muscle memory, but not for me because I need pain attached to it to work, okay? I flew helicopters and failed for the longest time. You wanna know the difference to help me get in the air? It was safe. Beautiful. I don't know if you guys could hear, there was a bunch of quacking from geese. The thing that saved my RC heli experience was auto leveling. If I didn't have it, I wouldn't have the confidence to do it because I'm way too practical and I need the pain and suffering attached to crashes to learn. I'll sit and watch a simulator, my eyes will glaze over, I'll lose interest immediately. If I'm not gonna get hurt or blow money or cause problems for other people, then it doesn't attach itself to me. You know, like I'm an adult, I have real problems. I have a real job. I have a real family. I have real property. I have real problems. When I fly helicopters, I need real pain attached to make my brain work. And if you're like me, and I know a lot of you are, safe is gonna give you just enough to get in the air and just enough to maybe get back without crashing every third flight. And I'm gonna tell you this, the difference between a helicopter and an airplane, helicopter crash, yeah, you're spending all day fixing it. You might be spending a new helicopter. Airplane crash, yeah, hit a tree. 5 minutes later, you're flying again. Maybe a slight exaggeration, but the truth is, we have done both. Yeah. And that's why helis, having that auto leveling, having that safe, having a flight controller that's not just giving you a gyro on the tail, which evidently I don't have mine set right, is the difference between success and failure. And when I say success and failure, I mean starting or not starting. I'm not talking about being a proficient 3D pilot, flying upside down, cutting grass, you know, and doing TikToks and things like this. I'm talking about proficiency, meaning you take off and you land at will and you go do whatever you feel like doing. That's what I love about RC. I love the freedom. I love watching from third person. No, I'm not big into FPV. A lot of you guys are. Congratulations, do it. You know, I don't like doing cobras, okay, with my airplanes. Congratulations, if you do, do it. Whatever makes you happy, guys. That's what's so beautiful about this hobby. You get to be in control of it. That's why it's fun, okay? If it was somebody else telling you exactly what to do, then it would be totally off limits for me. I would hate it. So, hopefully we answered all your questions about the M4 Max. And yes, it is just another M4, but it's even better. So guys, thanks for watching. We hope we answered your questions. If we didn't answer your questions, I apologize. With helis, there's probably a lot I can't answer, but you know who can answer? One of our amazing audience members in the comments below. So if you ask a question and I can't answer it, chime right in, heli experts. We want your help on this one. We don't often ask that question directly, but we are asking this question. When it comes to helis, I'm always learning too. So the more constructive criticism I get, and don't just say how bad I suck, everybody already knows that. But like I said, and like many of you have said, you gotta start somewhere. If you don't start somewhere, you failed before you begin, okay? We're here to help you find success, and that means in the air. Not necessarily back in one piece every time, but in the air and living it up. Guys, if you want to help support us, check out the Unbox Build Radio setup. If you need help, smash the like button. Click the bell for notifications when you are subscribing, because we have content all the time, sometimes up to 5-6 times a week, but usually a couple times a week to just keep you right there with us. Now that's in the middle of winter. Wait till it's nice. It's gonna be a lot more. But definitely, if you wanna support us with PayPal, Patreon, YouTube, membership or super thanks, we really appreciate those things. But the best thing you could do is go get one of these amazing helicopters, or get a battery that you need, or get a transmitter, buy a transmitter pack or a receiver, transmitter, something like that. Whatever it happens to be that you need right now. And if you don't need this heli, go over to brianphillipsrc.com. You can look through tons of different equipment, sorted by type or by manufacturer, distributor, hobby shop, whoever we happen to work with on it. I want to help you find what you want. And then when you find what you want, you can look at the playlist on YouTube, and we're going to have start to finish. Start to finish meaning opening it up, putting it together, setting up the radio, flying it, crashing it. Start to end. Sometimes the end comes very quick.
Yes.
But generally speaking, that's what most of you need. If you're watching Brian Phillips RC, it's because you're a new pilot, or you're just a returning pilot and you want to figure out, hey, what's this all about? I flew back in the 80s. But my kids are all grown and my grandkids are grown, and now I'm ready to get serious about it again. We're here for you. We're not gonna leave you high and dry like the hobby shops. We're not gonna leave you high and dry like your buddy that moved away or whatever that used to help you. We're gonna help you. And that's what we do on Brian Phillips RC, because we wanna grow the audience, of course, but we really wanna grow RC. We wanna drive down the prices, we wanna drive up the quality, and we wanna help improve the overall experience by helping talk you out of this helicopter if you're not ready for it. But if you are, check it out in the video description below. You can click the link, check out all the pricing details, shipping details, all that good stuff. You can buy one for your very own. Just remember, when you go to click on the Unbox Build Radio setup, watch the M4 if you want to see the build, because we did build that, but it was also time-lapse because it is a lot of building. All right, guys, that's all we got for tonight. When I get the waggle figured out, we'll show exactly what we did, and we'll probably give you another short flight. But until then, happy flying. Thanks for watching, and come back for more. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look at this beautiful creation, the M4 Max by OMP Hobby. Special thanks to Buddy for getting us set up with this, and Clay for actually helping us build it. Thank you. We really appreciate you guys. We love this hobby, and there are times when I'm stretching myself for this channel, and with helis, that comes with every new advancement, because every time I do it, they get more and more amazing, and this is no exception. So here we go, guys. We're gonna take this thing off, keeping in mind that when we fly 6S helicopters, we're talking about a lot of helicopter, okay? This is not a beginner airplane or a beginner helicopter. It is a advanced setup. So there are things that I'm learning and working with you to figure out. Okay, so without further ado, we do have this set up with a Spectrum flight controller and satellite receiver. We'll show all the details in the Unbox Build Radio setup, much of which was covered. Clay actually built this thing, but we did the radio setup. And so we're gonna show you everything. We think we got it all right, but with every other heli that we've set up, there's a little bit of tweaking that might need to be done. So full disclosure, okay, throttle cut is off. We're in normal mode. The wind is kind of coming that way, so I'm turned the wrong way, but we're gonna try it anyway. Okay, first things first, we're gonna bring it up to speed. Oh, that looks so sweet. Camera crew and I are gonna let it spin around. I did that. Okay, and here we go. Should have auto leveling on. We'll find out really quick. Oh, it's so beautiful. Low head speed, a little bit of tail waggle, and a little bit of drift. That's me trying to correct the drift. I think we don't have enough head speed yet. And so you guys can see, I've got a little bit of work to do, but man, that thing looks so good. It is auto leveling, and it is very easy to fly, a lot less aggressive than I expected. And that's exactly what Clay told me. You're good where you are. I just need to get a little more room. Okay, so the thing is flying. It's definitely got a little wiggle to it. And I think that wiggle is gonna be corrected by some easy adjustments When I let go of the sticks, it levels. This is part of my test flying process. And as you can see, we just need either a little bit more pitch or a little bit more head speed. And I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring this back. And I just wanna show you guys what I'm talking about here. My throttle stick is not gonna change and impact enough to counter some environments. But as I let go, it kind of slowly comes back to level, okay? So I'm gonna bring this thing back to a landing spot, and we're gonna make one adjustment and bring up probably our throttle curve just a little bit, okay? So we'll bring that down, bring the stick down past 50, and then throttle cut it, okay? So guys, this part of the video is probably going to be an extension of the unbox build radio setup, and so it may end up falling at the end, and we might have a good flight at the beginning, so we don't want to confuse you, but just want to show you this stuff. Okay, so click, flying on 2006S. We have tons more power than what we're putting to it. So throttle curve on normal, and that's where we are. Okay, so I'm gonna just set this to about, I'm gonna go to about 60 there, and I'm gonna go to about 62, and about 65. We'll see if that's enough. So 60, 62, 65. Wait, hold on, did we do that right? And I'm gonna go into normal, and it looks like we have 60, 62, 65. Why is it going down like that?
Yeah.
60, 62, and then 65. Let's turn off our linear and let's see how that goes. And then on our, we're gonna go ahead, it doesn't even matter. We're gonna set these to more like 70. Okay, so that's gonna be 70, because isn't that close to where we ended 65? So we're gonna just kick it up to the next step. With helicopters, you have a little bit more setup on the first go around. And then on this, we're gonna go up, kick it up to 80, and that's gonna be 80% head speed. And I might be using not exact perfect terminology. Please be nice. I'm still learning helis. You gotta start somewhere, okay. So that would be in normal mode, where we are now, then Stunt 1, Stunt 2, and we did change it to match the nomenclature that's spoken for us. Okay, so throttle cuts off, normal mode, give it some throttle, should spin up a lot quicker this time. That's gonna get our tail working better, because I think that's our problem with that oscillation, is there's not enough head speed to make it work. Okay, there we go, it's spinning up nicely. Oh yeah, feels a little better. Yeah, it's still a little bit of wiggle. So as you can see, I definitely have more command and control. The thing is very quiet. I definitely have a wiggle on the tail. I don't like that. I'd like to correct it. I'm gonna just get a couple of shots real quick, because I gotta see what it looks like. Good tail control, that's barely any input. I think we're golden on a lot of our settings, but I just need a little bit more to be able to arrest that downward movement. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come down here. I'm just gonna bring it down to the ground, throw on my throttle hold, and then I'm gonna disconnect that so we can see better. I'm gonna go back to the throttle curve in my normal, and I'm gonna bring this to probably 63. I'm gonna bring this to 65. You know what, let's go 67, and then let's bring this right to 70, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna back up, I'm gonna go to pitch curve. I have very limited pitch here on normal. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this pitch curve at the middle. We'll bring this up to like 5. And then we'll bring this one, we'll leave that at 70. We'll go to 75. Don't worry about that timer, that doesn't really matter. We'll go to 75, okay? So that should get us where we need to be. Okay, throttle cut. Remember, some of this stuff is subjective, so remember that as you're watching me do it. Throttle cuts off, normal mode, getting the thing to initiate, spinning. Okay, so we're gonna get that thing spun up. We'll make sure we're pointed to the wind. Should be a little bit faster this time, a little bit more agility. Low head speed still, as you can see, we break ground, that's pretty cool. Oh yeah. Yep, a little bit of change in pitch as we go up and down. We're gonna have very little aggressiveness on the way down, but I can still arrest my movement nicely, okay? So again, good pitch control, good pitch back, good pitch forward, pitch left, pitch right. Everything feels rock solid. Camera crew is good where she is. Good coordinated turn here. Everything feels rock solid, beautiful. sunset coming. I want to figure out the waggle, which we will, but I just got to get a little flying in because it's kind of killing me. 6S, this thing feels tame, like a giant, big, squishy bear. I'm loving it, guys. That's the way I like to fly because I'm such a pansy. And that's the way we like it, guys. If you're a 3D pilot, obviously you can change all of the settings to do some craziness that we are not doing here. And I'm just gonna tell you this, the other thing too is as I go, I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna bring it up just a little bit, and I'm gonna switch to my stunt one and just see how it feels, okay? So your stunt one, oh yeah, that brings it alive. Oh yeah, that thing is rock solid. Okay, first loop, here we go. And then back to idle, or back to normal. And I gotta get into the throttle to get that head speed up. Full throttle, come on, catch up, guys. Okay, you guys see what happened there? I need to bring up my normal throttle response a little bit because what's happening is when I have that stick below 50%, I'm gonna try to go up just a hair for you there, camera crew, so I can get up over the tree line. What a gorgeous body too. We will totally fix that tail oscillation, guys. I know what's going on. I think our gyro is just a little bit too high because as soon as we start moving, it's golden, okay? And look at this, I feel totally confident on the sticks right now, but I don't like how much I'm moving my collective or the throttle stick. I feel like I'm having to move too far out. And this thing is like a totally different beast than the M4. I've gotta say, it's gonna be crazy when I get that thing figured out because that wiggle is obviously not good. But I gotta tell you, everything else about this feels absolutely rock solid. And yes, we have done very limited setup on this compared to what I thought I was gonna need to do. Oh, we have something, a manned helicopter, are you kidding? I can hear it.
I know, I heard it too. I don't see it.
It's behind the house?
He's gotta be, no.
Okay,
Out.
so we might need to just do a safety landing here just to make sure we don't interfere with manned aircraft. Okay, there we go, throttle cuts on.
He's gotta be over the horizon behind the trees. Oh, nope, he's way, 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 way up there.
Airplane or helicopter?
I think it's a helicopter.
Yeah, it's a helicopter.
Yeah,
okay, so guys, real quick. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get in here. So we're gonna go back into the pitch curve and we're gonna go in normal. We're gonna go a little bit more aggressive. Remember, on this, throttle cuts on so we can test. We want it to pick up a little bit more pitch here, okay? So I'm gonna go up like this, and that's gonna get us to 70. That's gonna get us to like 60. And my fear is I don't want my motor speed to slow down quite so quick. So I need my throttle response a little bit more aggressive. So this 25 is gonna have to be quite a bit higher, okay? Because I don't wanna be losing throttle and crashing, okay? You understand? Because that's what happened when I came out of my mode. It took so long to spool up that it kind of got me into a potentially dangerous condition. In fact, yeah, 50 is a big change. Let's see if that does it, okay? So we're gonna walk back out, guys. Just checking for manned aircraft. I can hear they're getting, yep, right there it is, a helicopter. Zoom it in, show the people. So obviously, out of respect for manned aircraft, we always stop air ops, and there is a big light on the front of that. He's flying into the wind, he's way far away.
Yeah, he is.
Probably like 2 miles away. So we're totally fine. Okay, so guys, without further ado, what we're gonna do is just make sure the heading of that helicopter doesn't change, and here goes nothing. Throttle cuts off. Okay, I'm gonna go into normal startup procedure, just giving my throttle or collective a move up. The wind is coming from our right shoulder, so I'm just gonna, as soon as it goes live, I'm gonna kind of point into the wind. There we go. Oh yeah, it's up off the ground like in no time, and it just feels rock solid though, guys. I gotta say, that little waggle, it does not translate at all for me. I don't feel it at all in the sticks. I know it's happening. I know it's probably something I gotta adjust. Not a big deal. I'm totally gonna talk to Clay about it. He's gonna help me figure it out. I think it's probably my gyro is high, and I feel like when I'm in the middle of the sticks, look how soft this is, guys. It is just so easy to control. And that auto leveling gives you the confidence that you would have never expected you could have on a truly deadly 6S heli, guys. And if you move the sticks, she goes where you tell it, and she does it in a hurry. if you want, or she can just be a nice, relaxing walk along the beach with your girlfriend or wife or whatever it is that you're into. Look at this, with your dog, with your cat.
I was just surprised we had a beach. I didn't know.
Well, there is gonna be a beach soon. Okay, guys, I gotta say, I'm not even that good of a heli pilot, and look at this. Okay, so that's 60%, 70%, 80%, and it just gets along really quick. I am in normal mode, very unaggressive pitch and throttle, and I can bring this thing down reasonably quick. I feel like it's an anti-gravity machine right now, which I guess that would be a flying machine after all, but I don't feel out of control. It feels nice and solid, and for those of you that have ever seen me flying helis, I usually get very skittish around the bigger ones, and this is the biggest heli we've flown. It's also one of the most powerful. I'm gonna put down. Actually, I wanna take off. I'm gonna fly over the bull. We'll try to do one more maneuver. Of course, we got a little bit of tail work to do. Okay, so here we're gonna go into stunt one. So obviously this thing has whatever you want. There we go, guys. Okay, back into normal. And look, I didn't drop down. I didn't have to fight it. And the head speed doesn't slow down so unnaturally now when I switch between modes. I haven't even seen Stunt 2. Now, one thing I am gonna say is I might need to increase my down pitch just a little bit so I can get it to the ground a little easier, okay? But even with a little bit of wind, now guys, you may not realize this, but look at that windsock, guys. It's not like it's not windy out here. It's actually kind of hurting my hands how cold it is. And so I just want to point out something. Flying in the wind with helis is really kind of like a no-brainer. You can do it, and it's no big deal. I do have a voltage alarm on our high voltage pack here. Camera crew is going to come over to the middle of the runway just a little bit. And if you guys are brand new to the hobby and you want to learn how to do something just like this, that's what Brian Phillips RC is all about, helping you understand what the heck a LiPo is, what a balance charger is, what OMP hobby is, not OMP, that's the way I like to call them, but everybody gives me crap every time I say OMP. They're like, it's not an Oompa Loompa. But guys, I just love the way this thing sounds. It sounds so much less aggressive and scary.
Yeah, I'm really
than
surprised.
the other little brother, or little sister rather in this case, would be the M4. So this is the M4 Max. You get a little bit more boom strength, you get a little bit bigger servo, and you get a little bit bigger blades. And I'm gonna tell you this, it translates to a lot lower head speed. I'm totally gonna get that wiggle figured out, and it is gonna look and feel, oh, there's our warning. Okay, I'm gonna respect our warning. It's not gonna fall out of the sky, folks, but that is a genuine warning. So camera crew and I are gonna bring it down and just line it right here, no problem. This is gonna be Brian Phillips trying to look like he knows what he's doing, and he kinda does. Okay, throttle cuts on. That was 9 minutes 16, but I know I've cleared that before, so we probably got about 15 minutes of flight time. It's really annoying to listen to, so I'm gonna make sure my throttle cuts on. It's tested, and if you turn around, we have a Colby here. That's our cat. She is the... So all I'm gonna say is this. Amazing flight performance. I have no problems with that. I know for a fact if you set this up more aggressively, which I know for a fact you can, this thing is gonna rip it up in the sky, okay? I am probably never gonna rip it up in the sky, but as you know, I did 2 flips, and that is just barely scraping the surface. There's people that can do that. As soon as they take off, they're gonna be doing flips. But look how big this is, 420 millimeters each. This thing is huge, and I love it. But I don't love listening to that beep, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull this cover. One thing I really like about this and the M4 is, of course, the fact that when you fly them, you don't have to have a gigantic battery. You don't have to have a gigantic skill set. You can tame these things and you can fly them just where you are if you want to. Now, is this gonna be the first plane or first helicopter that you wanna fly? I'm guessing not.
Probably not.
Just from the sheer volume of parts and complexity. But if you pair this up with a flight controller like this, which is an FC6250HX, and it comes along with this Spectrum diversity receiver, you can actually get a second one And you're gonna have telemetry data if you want. You can use a smart ESC, but the 85 amp ESC that comes with this thing is more than enough. And I'm just gonna tell you, in terms of build, we're gonna show the stuff that we think we can help you with, and then the stuff in terms of the build is almost exactly the same as the M4. This is the M4 Max, okay? This body will fit your M4, by the way. I believe they are the same hole placement and the same dimensionally, okay? But where that ends is the boom is a lot bigger. It's got different functionality on some of the other stuff. I do need to figure out the oscillation on the tail. I'm gonna dig into that. We're gonna answer that question and we're gonna give you more flight time. But as you could see, the sun is setting, so we gotta figure that out and we'll come right back as quick as we can. Okay, so I'm about 99% sure what's going on. I'm gonna go into forward programming. Remember, we already have tested and vetted this helicopter, so for lack of better terms, I trust it right now. Okay, forward programming, tail rotor. This might be where we can make some changes, but what I really wanna do, there's something else I can do in here. Is it under setup? Gyro settings, there it is. Okay, so orientation's already been set. Gyro is on the gear channel. Where did we see that, hun? Calibrate sensor, nope. Swash plate, governor, safe. Stability.
When we set flight modes, we also set the gyro and we set it to the same switch. So is that actually like in
Oh,
the
it's out here.
menu?
It's in a regular menu. There it is. There's a governor and a gyro. This gyro needs to probably be turned down a little bit. Okay, so let's try going to 35. That might be too much still, okay? And then you see we reduce it when we go into the other modes. I'm not gonna do that now because it is live, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk out of there. Obviously this battery needs to be charged before we can fly it again. And we hope that this extension of our radio setup is gonna be helpful to you guys as you watch through this video. And also as you make your decisions about whether or not you feel like you can handle the M4 Max. I can tell you this, the M4 feels more crazy than the M4 Max, which is sort of weird. I did not expect that at all. This feels more comfortable to fly, more soft on the sticks. Now, admittedly, I may have set some things a little bit different, but also I've got to say, I'm really impressed with the way it flies. It's forgiving, it does what I expect and it does it relatively quick as the way we've set. But I guarantee you most people are gonna set these things a lot more aggressively than we did. Okay, so we're gonna look into the tail waggle a little bit further and make sure there's not other things to try, and we'll come right back. All right, YouTube, I found a problem that I did in my setup and I wanted to show you how to set it up to fix it. We were using throttle hold, so I'm gonna show you where we showed you. It was throttle cut. Now this is currently on and it's fine, okay? But if you go down to system setup, I totally missed this. We are already in this menu and I forgot hold switch, which was normally inhibited. I wanna set that to switch H, okay? And then look at this. We want the warning. Remember we couldn't find the warning? That's the warning. So throttle cut's off. I'm gonna scroll the mode. I wanna just shut off throttle cut now. I'm gonna clear that, okay? So now that's off. I'm gonna scroll over to monitor. Throttle is live. I want the warning when it's not off. It's backward. So I remember that because that was something I found in every heli that we've done for Spectrum. So if you go down to, where is the audio events? Might be under system setup too. There's also warnings somewhere on here too. Nope, it's gotta be down here. System setup, disconnect RF, warnings. There it is, warnings. Oh, okay, there we go. So we want the warning opposite. So there, okay? And I only want the warnings for flight modes 1 and 2, okay? So not normal. Okay, so you'll notice that it is not warning us when the hold is on now, but we're gonna go ahead and we'll jump into system setup because it's easier than powering down and powering back up. Okay, so we're gonna come out of the menu with the throttle stick high. It's gonna warn, give us a chance to correct, and then start. That's anything over 30% as prescribed by the system. I'm gonna go back into system setup, turn off my throttle cut. So this would now be dangerous. And I'm gonna also make it dangerous. Now watch this. Both. That clears that warning. That clears that warning. Now I'm gonna go into system setup. One more test. And I'm gonna turn off my throttle cut. I'm gonna put high throttle, and this is disconnected, by the way. I'm gonna put it in idle up or stunt mode 2, let's say, because that'd be like the most insane, stupid setup we could do. So we have to clear all 3 errors before it's gonna let us start. Okay, make sense? That's what we meant to do earlier. I'm sorry we forgot that step. And I've just been in the process of trying to figure out how to improve my tail waggle on this M4 Max, which has been really cool. But I'm kind of not able to get it totally corrected. And it's not just a gain issue. It's not just, you know, like a mechanical bind issue. We've looked through all that. I believe the servo is giving us enough output. It's giving us enough torque. And it's obviously responding quick enough. So I'm just not sure what's going on. We've also looked into the fact that the stabilized flight controller is not, you know, maybe mounted too firmly. I don't think that's an issue. I feel like I'm starting to run out of things to check. So I'm not sure if we're gonna get to the bottom of this, but obviously, I mean, I've gone so far as to take these things off and make sure that they're free enough moving. I've gone so far as to disassemble this assembly back here and make sure everything is free. Everything is free. So I'm not sure what else to check. So guys, as usual on Brian Phillips RC, we're always learning together. But in this case, I really need some help. I cannot get the tail waggle to calm down. And so I'm not sure what else to try. But I did want to share that hold issue because that is a big issue. Now I'm just going to demonstrate again. Throttle hold is off, stick is up, wrong flight mode. I'm going to power cycle this just to show you it's the same as going in and out of system setup because it's whenever the RF condition changes. Okay, so we'll turn this back on. And as you can see, we're gonna get 3 warnings just like if we came out of system setup or forward programming would do the same thing. It's gonna give you those error conditions, okay? Clear that error, clear that error, clear that error. Ready to go and safe. By the way, the biggest time where I'm gonna be vulnerable to attacking myself with these blades is when I'm looking for a problem. Because I'm in and out of system setups, I'm in and out of the house, I'm hovering, I'm doing a lot of setup, and that's when you gotta be extra careful. So as soon as I realized my error, I fixed it. Now the good news is, we already had it just as safe with the throttle cut, but throttle hold is going to operate with and in tandem with your flight modes, which makes sense on a helicopter. So anyway, that's what we got for you. Sorry we missed that on our initial radio setup, but we just wanted to add that detail so you can incorporate that into your setup. So if you have any questions or comments, let us know down below. Thanks for watching, guys. All right, so we just talked about the throttle hold and how we figured out how to set that up. I already knew, but I had forgotten, so my apologies, guys. There was one other thing I wanted to do. I've been working, I don't know, for the last couple hours just playing with this, trying to just tear everything apart and see if there was something I missed. There isn't really anything that I've missed that I can find, okay? There are some imperfections in the setup because I did it, but I don't think it's imperfect enough to cause a tail waggle. So one thing I did learn is that some people suggest having this gyro a lot higher. So I just went ahead and set it higher. And I also changed this from the B switch to flight mode. Okay, so it does the same function, okay? But because throttle hold is on, it doesn't actually change that value until you do this, okay? So that's one thing that we did. So the flight mode controls the gyro, notwithstanding you have throttle hold on, and throttle hold now pops up on that screen if you set it to flight mode versus being set up to B switch, okay? So even though B switch commands and controls flight mode, we still want flight mode to be the call out for the switch, okay? Then the other thing I changed was, well, that was basically the big one, is the 75%. I tried a bunch of other things. It didn't make any difference. In fact, I put the gyro up, I put the gyro down, I put the gyro in the middle. I tried little steps, I tried big steps. It didn't really seem to have a big impact, but the gyro being lower did make the performance and the snappiness when you let go of the controls worse, okay? So the softer or the lower level you did on the gyro, the worse performance you got right here. If you put that down low to like 25 or 30 or 20 or 20 or 22 or 26 or whatever, as I was trying all those different ranges, both in normal mode, you just didn't really see a big difference. Okay, now the other thing I did is I went ahead and turned on, now I can't even show this until I plug in the battery, so we'll probably end up plugging in the battery here so we can show this, and then we're gonna give you a quick demo. It's probably still considered civil twilight when I turn my lights on, so we're gonna do that, and then we'll show you just a quick clip so you can kind of identify how much tail waggle. And I did have my first bump into the ground with the tail, but it was just a real light kiss, so it didn't really cause any damage or anything like that. And then also, I took this all apart, I did some more grease, and just made sure that I didn't have any components that were biting here that would cause any sort of reluctance to move all these linkages and everything. And then I also double checked, triply checked, that these were aligned so that in the movement of this action, it wasn't causing any binding. Because the idea is, if you create any resistance to the tail feathers or the tail rotor assembly moving free, then it's gonna translate to potential overcorrection and then recorrection and then recorrection and then recorrection. Sounds similar? Yes, that's what we're dealing with. Now, the other thing I checked, and this is something that some have struggled with, and that is if they have bundles of wire pulled too tight, the flight controller is not allowed to float on the actual double-sided tape. Now, I am a little bit tight here because I wanted to have everything bundled up neatly, and I don't think it's gonna get a whole lot better than that. So I'm not gonna choose to go down this path. This is a receiver. It has nothing to do with spatial awareness. The flight controller, however, in our application at least, does have the spatial awareness to my knowledge, okay? This thing might have a little bit of telemetry on it, but I don't believe it does anything up to or including barometric pressure. I don't think it has any AS3X sensors at all. This is just a DSLR, or excuse me, not a DSLR. This is just a DSMX SRXL2 receiver, period, okay? It's like a remote receiver. Now, if you ever add the DSMX secondary receiver and plug it into one of the multiple spots where you can plug them in, on this, you need to bind those separately, just remember that. We only use the one, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna plop the battery in and come right back so we can show you the forward programming change I made, which is super minimal. All right, so we're gonna jump into forward programming and show you one thing I changed. Okay, so in forward programming, this is on, throttle holds on, and we're in normal mode, which means that with the stick down, there will be no spinning of the motor. Okay, so under swash plate, under setup, swash plate, there's this AFR. That is where you can move the collective up and down, and you can change the maximum up and the maximum down. If there is a difference between the pitch up and the pitch down, you can change this differential to make a differential on the downward sweep, okay? Or the upward, because this is a positive or negative value, right? So you can do negative or positive, right? Okay, so I'll cancel and put it to 0. The collective is, of course, how much it goes up and how much it goes down, right? And then when you're centered in the stick position there, then you would see centered up here, which we went through in our unbox build radio setup portion of the video, but this is just something I didn't understand and I wanted to mention that. The roll is just an absolute value based on how much it moves to the left and how much it moves to the right. If you need to reverse the action, then you can actually run these negative as well. But you can use your pitch gauge there and it's gonna give you that flexibility to check and change those settings, okay? Now, the other thing I did is under safe stability, currently, because its hold is on, see how it says off? I can't even show this without turning hold off. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull this away from me because it shouldn't matter because the stick is going to be down. Hold is now off and it's not gonna start spinning. And that's the thing is if it starts spinning, I'm gonna quickly have to switch, okay? So you're out of focus there. What are you doing? Okay, so if I do this, it shouldn't start because we're in forward programming, okay? See how it says on? That's a dangerous condition. When that connection fails, that's the only thing that makes me nervous when I'm in forward programming is if I have to shut off a setting, that'd be a safety feature, okay? So I'm gonna go back into safe. I'm gonna go back to stability. Throttle holds off. You can see stability's on, and now it's off, okay? So that means that in Stunt 2, I don't have auto leveling. In Stunt 1, I do currently. So that gave me another place to test to see if the waggle disappeared without having to add the layer of full control of the helicopter. It's very easy for me to switch between those modes. I'm gonna walk back out of the menu structure. Those are the 2 or 3 main small things that we changed that weren't covered in the unbox build radio setup. The one last thing I'm gonna show you. So there was one other thing that we might wanna talk about, and that is on hold, you may want to change, okay, so there's pitch curve and throttle curve. Make sure you're in pitch and not throttle, okay? Because that'll make for an exciting moment. Because when you're in throttle hold, I don't want necessarily my blades to be in this like, okay, throttle holds on, normal mode. As I go up, you see how it moves the pitch all the way through the normal range? You may not want it to move all the way through the normal range. So what you can do is in hold mode, you can actually change the settings, okay? So you can click on that. You can click on that and then you can adjust this. In pitch, make sure you're in pitch. If you're in throttle, you will actually start the motor, okay? Or you can start the motor, I should say. So if you were to adjust this, then what you would do is you would just go through and say, I don't ever want with throttle hold on for this to go to 100. And I never want this to be at 0, which is like absolute down, okay? So like maybe you want it to be at like 40 and then like 45. And then you might want like, let's just bring this down, way down, because you don't want it to go up to 100%. Okay, so let's say you're going 60 and then 55. Okay, so look at this now. So if you have throttle hold on and you move the stick on accident, you're not gonna be as aggressive, okay? It's just an idea, you don't have to do this, and you may have different plans for that, but the idea is then it's gonna hover closer to the center, okay? Now, alternatively, when you're in pitch curve, I wanted to show you where I changed this to. So I made a really, really basic move. You're gonna have to bring it in a little closer for this. 43, okay, so I'm gonna highlight this so you guys can see. I do have Expo active. So it's 43, 51, 66, 72, 75. So I'm actually increasing the pitch quite a bit more on this, but I still wanna bring it down to the ground when I'm in normal mode, okay? And then I left it just at a straight linear on both 1 and 2 for stunt modes, okay? But then if I throw throttle hold on while I'm flying, I don't necessarily want it to go smack to the ground on under full load, right? So it's gonna stop my motor, but it's not necessarily going to, okay, so now throttle curve. So this is how I have it now for normal mode. I come up to 50%, which helps the speed up a little bit quicker so that if you do go between stunt 1 and normal, you're not gonna like have the plane start falling as you're pulling it to the ground. Because in stunt mode, you might be down here on the stick position trying to like do an upside down maneuver when you flip into the like auto leveling condition, the normal condition. That's what I use as like my panic mode, okay? So that brings me a little bit more protection so I can bring this thing back to the ground safely, okay? But this is throttle still. So 50, 58, 59, 60. So it's barely any increase. And one of the things I found that was my tail waggle was actually increased the faster things went, except when I got to stunt 1 and stunt 2, because everything was moving really fast. And then it felt like it sort of stabilized out a little bit, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually bring this up just a little bit again, because I felt like it could handle a little bit more power, okay? So then 50 is down here. That means that around the center stick, we're gonna get liftoff, okay? I like to kind of keep them the same usually, but on this helicopter, I wanted to make up for it because it's got such big blades. And then in hold mode, it's currently set to 0, and you can set a delay so that the delay will stop the helicopter from spooling down to nothing immediately, okay? So I'm not gonna change that. I'm gonna leave the throttle position at 0%, okay? But just remember, you might wanna go into your pitch curve for your hold and change it somewhere more neutral, okay? If that makes sense? Otherwise, you run the risk of throttle hold on, sticks down, the helicopter, if you're trying to auto gyro down, I don't know why you would turn on throttle cut in a helicopter to land an auto gyro, but I think people do that. It's a thing. I just don't do it. So anyway, all right guys, we're gonna take it out right now and just give you guys a quick clip of flying. We're gonna get the light set and show you what it looks like real quick. Okay, so we're out here at Civil Twilight, and I'm just gonna go ahead and throttle holds off and just show you the tail waggle real quick. Obviously, we'll keep this real close so we've got good lighting. We're not gonna be flying up to the atmosphere, that's for dang sure. Okay, so just bring it up, get it up to speed, and then take off. No big deal. So as you can see, the 75% gyro gains have really kind of helped to lock everything in. And again, I'm in normal mode. I do have auto leveling, but as you can see, it's really just holding still, but you also get just a little bit more waggle than maybe you'd like, but I can certainly live with it. It doesn't stop the flyability for me. It's very easy to control. And I'm just trying to demonstrate that we do still have a little bit of tail waggle, but just look how rock solid it is, guys. I'm not really a great heli pilot, so I don't want to do anything too crazy, especially with it being Civil Twilight. Looks a little darker on camera, I think. But as you can see, that thing is just really rock solid. And then if you bring it to a tail position, it stays put and stops right where you want it. And we've got this thing flying really nicely. And then I'll just bring it over here so you can see good, and we'll land it. Now, if I go to idle up, or if I go to stunt 1, because it's a little darker than I would like for this sort of thing, the stunt 1 is gonna basically allow you to keep your auto leveling now because I turned on stability in that mode, okay? And again, just trying to keep this broadside for visibility reasons with this Civil Twilight, obviously. I wanna make sure we can see stuff. So guys, hopefully that answers your questions. I know you guys were curious based on the fact that we kind of had to end the videos. We wanted to make sure to kind of give you some closure, and then also just let you know that that gyro being at 75 does seem to help things. And also in the stunt modes, I didn't feel like I noticed much of a tail waggle at all, okay? So if I can do this safely, we'll see if I can show you the stunt 1 mode. So I might try to go up a little bit on me when I do this. Okay, so as you can see, we still have a little bit of disparity in pitch between those modes. And normally I would be a few mistakes high for that, so makes it look pretty exciting when we do that at low altitude in low lighting, okay? So, but again, not trying to prove anything other than the fact that the tail waggle is not of great concern, because I know it's probably bothering some of you guys. It's bothering me. That's why I spent all this time trying to figure it out, see if I could totally eliminate it. And I can't even say that it's that much better, but I do feel better knowing that I tried what can be tried. And I feel like this M4 Max is still an awesome helicopter, even with a little bit of waggle there. If you guys have other ideas for me to try, leave them in the comments below and I'll give them a shot. I may have done a couple of other things I forgot to mention, but I did try to mention all the details. But again, this M4 Max has got to be the nicest heli we've ever had, and it is awesome. I really like the way it flies. It makes me feel in command and control at all times. And I'm very, very happy with the way that things went together. I'm getting better at helicopters, but it definitely takes time, guys. So if you haven't considered the M4 Max, you might want to consider it. And that is a big blade set compared to the M4. And the M4 is just really intimidating compared to the M4 Max, which seems opposite of what it should be. You would think the M4 Max would be more intimidating, but it's really less because it has lighter, it's not called wing loading, it's called disc loading because it's a heli. But it's got lighter disc loading because it's basically the same size heli with a bigger wing. And it works really good. So I hope you guys will check it out in the links of the video description below. And we hope you guys will be back for more on Brian Phillips RC. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. There's more right around the corner.